Well, I'm a huge advocate for the power and brilliance of children's books. I think they're really transformative. I think they open up doorways to magical worlds. Hello, Lyra. You going to say hello? No, Lyra's gone. My cat, named Lyra, after Philip Pullman's heroine in The Northern Lights. That is actually one of my favourite books and one I would recommend. I think the writing is quite astonishing, actually, and the ideas in that book are just amazing. I also love Catherine Rundell. I think anything by her is just almost like reading a dream. She can move you to tears and inspire you with hope in the same sentence. In the adult space, I completely fell in love with The Mermaid of Black Conch by Monique Roffey. The folklore and the elegance of the writing, that feels like a masterclass reading that book. And more recently, I've just finished Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors. It's a very contemporary book, but it has some really classical, familiar themes. And that just makes it feel really special and like a bit of a gem. I think it is that resilience is more important than talent. So by that I mean, it's all very well having the dream and the desire to create a book, but actually it's the dedication, the repetition, the giving up every spare moment of your time, the really committing to getting words on the page. That's where the magic happens and the craft really begins. That there is no set pathway and that everyone has to find their own way out of the woods in a way that's completely appropriate and unique for them. In fact, I don't know if anyone said that to me or if that's just something that I've come to learn through trial and error, but I am wildly dyslexic, sometimes in a brilliant way and sometimes in a very sort of chaotic way. So structure for me can sometimes be the death of a great idea, meaning that I would much rather write the entire book than have to write an outline or a synopsis. But nevertheless, as we all know, sometimes we just have to get a synopsis done. Story arcs are really helpful to me, having a sense of what my characters are going to do, the world that they're inhabiting, what their motivation and passion and drive is. But I find anything that's too formulaic really confusing and really hard. So it's great that there are many different ways to get your story down on the page. Well, I'm quite an early riser. It's the only time I really get to myself. So me and the cats, we're up early. And I tend to start my day actually with yoga and meditation just to make sure that I'm in the right headspace. Then if I'm on a deadline, I'll be scrabbling around madly from about probably 5:30 a.m. till 7:30 a.m. just trying to pull it all together and get it done. If I'm not on a deadline, then I'll come to it more gently. The morning is definitely a better time for me. That's when I just feel more creative. The ideas come easily. I've got that kind of hyper focus from being dyslexic, and I can really get it done. I'll take my daughter to school sometime around 9, and then I'll come back to it. And then the afternoons really are just for the horror of tackling the admin. And there is so much admin. Why? Definitely my beloved agent, Claire Wilson. We've been together about 12 years. I think that I was the first person to ever sign to her. So we've been on the journey together, and she has risen to stardom, and through her magic and persistence, I am now a published author of about 15, 16-ish children's books. And I think when you've got that sort of long-lasting bond with someone, when you've really been through the highs and lows of publishing, it's really amazing just to know that someone's got your back and that you can trust them with all of your ideas, the wild and the whimsical and the utterly unreadable. Probably adapting my picture book Snowflakes for the stage. That was a really wonderful experience with the Oxford Playhouse. I also just love appearing at literary festivals all over the country and in fact the world. It's always a really joyous experience and meeting readers is just so lovely. But I'm a really optimistic person and I hope that the best is yet to come. The book that I'm reading this cold and bleak January is Self-Help by Gabrielle Bernstein. As it says on the front cover, it is a really nourishing self-help book and it's just the perfect thing to read to get through those wintry blues.